I'm a hoe for a crow. I love crows. Hello and welcome to another vlog. Today we're going to be starting a new possible series, we'll see, called Ready Set Net, where I try to read as many net galleys as possible and get those reviews out before those books are published. For the most part, I started this vlog several weeks ago in the end of February, and so some of these books are already out and some of them will be coming out through the remainder of March. So in this vlog I read 5 books. I read The Impossibility of Crows by Kirsten Kashuk, Wretch by Eric LaRocca, A Good Person by Kirsten King. I read 200 Monas by Jan Sains, and I read Nothing Tastes as Good by Luc Dumas. So mostly horror and some lit fic in there. I also read a book from Book Sirens, which is another early release mostly for indie authors site where you can get ARCs. And I read Skeleton River by Mark B. Dawkins. So those are the books that I read, the 5 NetGalley books that you will see in this vlog. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this. If you do, please like and subscribe. Comment down below which one of these books maybe you're most excited for, or what March release you are excited for. I'd love to hear from you. And there we go. I am about 40% of the way into an Impossibility of Crows on my Kindle. There's no cover or anything on the Kindle NetGalley version, so that's not exciting to look at. But I am 30%, 40% of the way into this. This is a horror, lit fic horror by an author called Kirsten Kashuk, and I've never read from her before. I don't know if this is a debut or not, but this is a book about a woman named Agnes, and her family move into a house that she used to live in when she was younger. It's an old farmhouse and it has like, barn and everything, and it's secluded. Her and her daughter and her husband move in there and they're going to fix it up and sell it, but then Agnes finds this crow's nest and becomes slowly obsessed with the idea of breeding these crows, making a big giant crow. But the story is told in an interesting way. It's told through her diary entries as this is happening, because at the beginning of the story, her daughter and her husband have already left. They've moved out because of this obsession that she has, obsessed with doing this for her daughter instead of just spending time with her daughter, and they have already left. So we are following her diary entries as she raises this giant crow. I see, I have it written down. What's that giant crow's name? Did I not write it down? Giant crow. Oh, yes. So she is raising this giant crow named Solo and trying to get him to fly for the first time. And eventually she wants to have her daughter be able to fly on this crow. But sometimes this crow comes back with things that maybe he shouldn't have. And then maybe there's some people who are going missing, etc., etc. But it's written through her diary entries. But then we're also getting letters from Agnes's mother who passed away. We're getting remembrances of her life when she was living there with her dad, who wasn't the nicest guy, and we're getting some scenes of her going to see her sister, and we're also getting letters or communications from her daughter, Mina, I think her name is, who is living with her dad away from the farm. So we're getting all this kind of information in diary entry form, and the diary entries are sort of very stream of consciousness. It took a bit getting used to, but I'm actually really enjoying it now. There's some really great quotes in here that I have really liked. It's very much about monsters and mothers, and has like a Frankenstein-y kind of feel to it a bit, because she's raising this creature that maybe shouldn't exist. I am really liking so far. It's very dreary and isolated kind of feeling to it. I finished The Impossibility of Crows. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I really liked the atmosphere and the writing of it. Some really great quotes in there about motherhood, maybe mothers who don't innately find the want or the loving their children that is supposed to come naturally. And I really liked those parts. I really enjoyed the ending. There was some really gruesome stuff in there, and I really liked that, the imagery. And I love crows, so I always tell people I'm a hoe for a crow. I love crows, anything crows. So I really liked the crow of it all in the story. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 because I did find some of the meandering, like, as much as I like a good meander, a good stream of consciousness, I can go on a journey, a meandering journey with an author. I don't usually mind. I did find that there was like a whole lot in here that kind of caused it to, I think, lessen the feel of it and the themes of it. So she talks about, I mean, she doesn't talk a lot about each of these things, but it's just in there, and I don't think it needed it. She's a scientist. She talks about working for Big Pharma. She talks about racism. She talks about war. She talks about war veterans. She talks about disability, motherhood, sisterhood, cults, religion, just so many different things in here. And I think that it sort of muddled the messaging a little bit. I think that this often happens. I've said it before with newer authors or indie authors where they're not sure they're going to be able to write another book, so they like cram it all in there. And I really loved the main story of it, about what that was all about, her daughter and her mother, and the generational trauma, generational neglect. You know, parents' trauma can affect their children and then their children's children. Like I said, the writing is very melancholic and drawn out. I think if you like a book that's very character driven, gothic, slow paced, meandering, I think you could like this. Like I said, I do think it needed a little bit more focus for me, but I still really enjoyed it. So I'm going to give it a 3.5. So that is my first book done for this NetGalley video. And I'll see you later. It is snowing again. It's snowing again. So I'm currently getting ready to go shovel. That's why I have my hat on and my fleecy on. So, yay. Last night I started Wretch by Eric, my arc of Wretch by Eric Lorca. I'm only 10% into this so far, so I don't really have much to say about it, other than I know that it is grief horror, and supposedly this guy goes to a support group where someone is offering to give you one last moment with your loved one, obviously for a price. I'm sure it'll go downhill from there. I have not read any Eric Lorca before that, other than his short stories, so I'm interested to see what I feel about it. So I'm sitting here reading Wretch by Eric Lorca, and I have no idea what's going on so far. We were in some sort of place, and then a person went into the room, and the guy was saying there's going to be pain, or this is going to be painful. And then we started following who I assume is our main character, and they lost someone recently. They might be able to see ghosts or something, or communicate with them. And then we're in their dream where they're a mother and the other person in the dream is a father, and they're talking about selling their son because they don't have enough food to feed themselves, and making arguments for that. So I don't know what's going on really so far. We haven't gotten much of the main character so far, but the main character is definitely lonely and reaching out for connection wherever they can find it. So I'm sure that might be a theme of this. So I am sitting here at the youth center waiting for my daughter. Usually she wants to leave early, but today she is having a really good time, I guess. She wants to stay and hang out until the very end. So I guess I'm sitting here reading. So I had to do a few errands, so I went out to the library to pick up a hold. I just had one. Cecilia by K. Ming Chang, and this is the same author as Organites, I believe. And Mally, oh my gosh, recommended this to me. I can't remember her channel name, but I will link it down below. But she really loved this, and then I saw someone else recommending this as well, so I thought I'd give it a shot. I didn't realize how teeny tiny it was. I knew it was a novella, but just like in size, it's also really tiny. I'm gonna go pick up my daughter. I gotta go pick up some burgers because we're gonna have burgers for dinner tonight, and then I think I have to help my mother-in-law with something computer-wise later. So that's the plan for the rest of the day. I will continue reading Wretch. I haven't gotten any farther in this yet. I've been reading other things, so that is the plan. I am now 50% into Wretch by Eric LaRocca. I am liking this. It's definitely a grief horror. The main character in this, his name is Simeon. We don't really see his name that often because it is in first person for the most part, and he lost his partner Jonathan. He has been grieving past the allotted time that society deems it reasonable to grieve, I guess, whatever that means. They don't say that in here, but you know, his job is on him. They are making him take a leave of absence, and his friends don't really contact him or check up on him much anymore. The only person that seems to check up on him is his ex-wife, who he has a son with. He really is struggling. He's deeply depressed. He considers suicide, but he can't bring himself to do it. He thinks about self-harm all the time. So if that's a trigger for you, you might want to be careful with this. Always with Eric LaRocca, you know, you got to check your trigger warnings. It's very dark and depressing. You're in his mind the whole time. So he is talking about how he is struggling so much. He goes to this support group called the Wretches, and it's full of people who are looking to connect with their dead loved ones still, and it's supposed to be a support group. They take pictures and they look for their loved ones in the pictures, and I don't know how this all relates back to this dream he had about this couple selling their son into some horrible slavery type situation. He does call back to that dream a few times, but I don't know what's going on with that. He talks about maybe having a son with Jonathan, you know, wanting to have a son with Jonathan. I don't know what that has to do with the rest of this book, but it's interesting so far. We haven't really gotten much into the horror of it all yet, other than a few, like that dream and then the prologue. So I'm curious to see where this is going, because right now it's mostly just in his head. And speaking of about grief, I like Eric LaRocca's writing a lot. So. Son is in his drum lesson and I am watching Literally Dead book club. It is a gorgeous day today. It is in the 50s. It is sunny out. The snow is melting. Life is beautiful. I always forget how much the weather in the winter affects me when it's gloomy and cold and I can't get outside and the sun is just not as strong, and how that makes me feel and my mental health and how much of an effect it has on me. And then you get a random sunny day in February after all the snow we've been having, and it just feels like a miracle, like a glorious miracle. Sunny days, 50 degrees are some of my absolute favorite. 50, 60 degrees. Ugh. Mwah. Especially in the late winter, early spring when the bugs aren't back yet, or in the fall when it's chilly enough in the evenings where the bugs aren't really out anymore. Love it. Once the bugs start coming out, then I get sad again. But at least the sun will still be out, even with the bugs. Anyways, I finished, I don't know if you can see this because the sun is so bright in here, but I finished Wretch by Eric LaRocca. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm giving it 4 stars. It's definitely what I'm going to be thinking about for a while. This is my first full-length Eric LaRocca. I do think that the beginning bits of it were a little slow for me. Maybe the first 40-ish%, 50%, but then the last half I flung through it. Like, definitely queer, transgressive fiction / horror. So he goes to a support group who is supposed to help you connect with your loved one who's passed away, and then he goes to a man named Porcelain, and he also is rumored to be able to let you have some moments with your person that has passed away. And so he's doing all these things, and there's some weirdness going on with both things, both the support group and the person he ends up going to see. It explores memory and how grief and someone's death can alter our memories of them and make us maybe only look at positive things and distort reality in some ways. They don't speak for themselves anymore. They can be whatever you put on them. There's discussions of whether a ghost is haunting you or you are haunting their spirit, not letting them move on. Yeah, and then the ending is wild and I loved it. But like I will say, the first bit was, I still found it interesting. I don't mind a slow build up. The Simeon's very highly unlikable. There are some reveals in the end, which I might go back and read some bits of just to see how I feel about them. Because there were definitely things that happened in the beginning that all came together in the end, which I didn't really know what they meant in the beginning, but then they came together, which I appreciated. But it is one that I have been thinking about it all day since I finished a few hours ago, and I still need to write my written review for NetGalley, but I think I'm gonna give it a 4. It's definitely, I definitely felt like it was a 3, but like a 3.5 the first half, and I was like, this is good, I like the writing, I'm not in love with it yet. But then the ending, pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed the weirdness and the fun of the ending. And I mean, fun. Eric book would be fun. For my next NetGalley book, I'll be reading, I think I have 3. This Eric LaRocca's book comes out the 24th of March, and then there are 3 more that I have for March that come out the 31st. So I'm hoping to get to most of those. Oh, A Good Person, I think, is the next one I'm going to read, by Kirsten King. And I don't know what that is about, but I will let you know when I figure it out. Taking the girls for another walk. Happy girls, happy girls. Ellie Bell, where are you happy girls? I started an arc of A Good Person by Kirsten King. I am only, I think, 10% into this, so I don't really even know what this is about so far, but I do know now that it is a lit fic possible suspense, but I don't know what is suspenseful about this so far. So far, we're just following this woman who is navigating dating and trying to get this guy that doesn't seem all that interested in her to actually have an actual relationship with her. It's her birthday and she hangs out with him, and then he doesn't know it's her birthday and she says, hey, it's my birthday, and then he doesn't contact her again for like a week. So I don't know, he doesn't seem that into her, but that's all I've really seen so far. But I'm liking the writing quite a bit, so I'm sure this will be fun either way. It seems like something that I will like, so when I have read some more and actually know what this is about, if it's about anything other than a woman just dealing with her life. I think it's supposed to be a little unhinged, so we will see what we see when we see it. So I am about 50% of the way through A Good Person by Kirsten King. I am enjoying this one. Our main character is a woman, and I can't remember her name at the moment, but she is a woman who is a bit unhinged and is really, really wanting to have a relationship in her life, and she becomes sort of obsessed with this guy who's not really giving her the time of day. She could use that book, He's Just Not That Into You, because he's, doesn't seem to be that into her. Then she ends up coming across this woman who is a influencer, but claims to be like witchy, and she could do hexes and things like that. And she does one of these with her friend, who also maybe is in love with her girlfriend, who is also maybe in love with her. And the next morning they wake up and they discover that something has happened to this guy, and they just thought they were doing this like weird Instagram hex. And so she is highly unlikable. She is unhinged. She needs therapy and probably medication, but she drinks a lot, seems pretty selfish, and only cares about herself. She seems very narcissistic, but the writing is funny and I am enjoying it quite a bit. I will say that in the synopsis it does say what happens to Henry, but I didn't know that going in, so I thought that was a good surprise. So if you don't want to know, then I would avoid reading the synopsis. But this has happened and she's involved in an investigation, and she's trying to deal with Henry's family. Also, a little life update. We don't have internet again. A couple weeks ago, a plow took out our box outside and they came and fixed it, and it was working just fine. But it still needed, the box itself needed to be replaced. So they came yesterday and did that. We got internet before they got here, and when we left, we had no internet, and they did not check to make sure it was working. So we have not had internet since yesterday, which is a bummer, especially since the kid had another snow day yesterday because of ice. And today they have a 2-hour delay and they want their internet back. And I don't blame them. Also, my back's been bothering me from all the shoveling, so running's been difficult. And also, the roads are icy. But it's supposed to get up to 50 degrees today, so I know they're gonna melt, so I'm hoping to get out later. But we'll see how my back feels. Okay, so I need to update you. I finished A Good Person, and I'm gonna give it 4 stars. Lillian is very, very much unlikable, unhinged. You're in her head, so you're hearing all her unfiltered thoughts. Yes, very unlikable, but also funny at times. And, you know, she's just like sharing honest thoughts about her life and her thoughts of the world and things. And she's a narcissist, and she takes no accountability for anything that goes wrong in her life. And she thinks she's a good person, but she's definitely not a good person. So yeah, I finished that one up and I gave it 4 stars. Overall, I just thought it was an entertaining read. So I gave it 4 stars. And then I started another arc that I got through Book Sirens, Skeleton River by Mark B. Dawkins, and I'm about 30% of the way through this one. This is an indie author. He has 1 book previous to this, I believe, but I just grabbed it on Book Sirens. Every once in a while I like to do that. His book is called Skeleton River and is about a guy named Remy, and he is a vet. Was in Afghanistan, and he had something really horrible happen, and he has a very severe PTSD from that, and he's dealing with the PTSD and being treated for that. His wife ends up passing away, and he flees to a cabin in the Appalachian Mountains. There's a river, it's right on the river. There's some creepy like people by the river, and it's very foggy. There's some just like weird things happening, and he's not sure what's real, what's not real. He's having slips with reality, like he's going to sleep and then waking up and his wife's alive, or he's going to sleep and he's waking up and he's back in Afghanistan. So in some of the timelines or whatever, his wife is alive, so you know, we don't really know what's going on. It seems sort of like a Black Mirror episode at this point, but I'm having fun with it. It's very readable, very quick reading, and I'm actually enjoying it quite a bit, so that was a nice surprise. Finished Skeleton River on my Kindle. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I really liked it. I thought it was pretty addictive, very quick. I just wanted to keep reading and know what happens. I think I read most of it in a day. It's an indie author, and I was very pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed it. Very much sort of like a Black Mirror episode and a mystery, and I liked where it went, and I thought it was fun. It's a little bit of a Groundhog Day-esque, but in the best way. Now I have started another art. I started reading Nothing Tastes as Good by Luke Dumas, and this is about a man who is overweight. He's 300 and something pounds, and he applies to be part of this drug treatment trial to lose weight, and he becomes part of this trial. He starts to lose weight, and then he ends up getting a hunger. I kind of know that very early on in the book, and I mean, I know it's like part of the synopsis, but like you get kind of news articles and things towards the beginning. And I'm liking this okay so far. Nothing creepy has happened yet. I think I am like 20-something% in, and he hasn't even officially gotten into the trial yet. And so I don't really have many thoughts. I'm a little bit bored. You're getting a lot of his thoughts and how he's treated as someone who is obese and, you know, not being treated well in his workplace, not being able to get a job. You know, even though he's qualified for this job that he really wants, he's volunteered at this place for a long time, he doesn't end up getting it. And the people not so gently tell him that he's lazy and smelly and he needs to lose weight. You know, they don't say that exactly, but they practically do. And, you know, him talking about his eating disorder and thinking he has binge eating disorder. And then we get a little bit of hints of, you know, that something happened in the past with his stepfather that maybe caused him to have all these eating issues. And so it's more at this point, definitely not very horrific or anything like that. There are news articles and phone calls and transcripts of things that hint at what is going to happen, but we haven't gotten into anything like that yet. Like I said, he hasn't even gotten into the trial yet. So I'm in not hating, not loving, just kind of meh about it so far. Writing style is fine. I read The History of Fear by Luke Dumas. I think I gave it 4 stars or a high 3. I can't remember, but I did enjoy it. So I'm willing to give this a little bit more of a shot. I did not read The Paleontologist that he wrote. I just wasn't interested in it. But yeah, I want to give this a little bit more of a try. I also listened to over the weekend 200 Monas, which was a ALC of the book 200 Monas, and it is about a college senior who loses her mother. Upon going through her house and her home, she finds a bag of this drug called Mona, and she ends up having a higher up drug dealer person come and say, you know, your mother owed me this money. This is your debt now. You better figure out how to pay me and sell those drugs or I'm going to kill you. Yeah. So she has to go on an adventure to figure that out. And there's a guy that helps her. And I ended up giving this like a high 2. It wasn't quite a 3 for me. It was entertaining enough, but I thought it was going to be more about her grief and getting to know her relationship with her mom, you know, examining that while she had to deal with dealing these drugs. Mona is a drug that is supposed to give you mind-blowing orgasms. Yeah, it was more about her selling these drugs, but also falling in love with this dude. And it came more off to me as like an early 2000s teen sex romp comedy, probably more evolved than those, but yeah, it just kind of was like a hijinks. It came off more of like a hijinks adventure than what I was hoping for, so it wasn't for me. But like I said, I was entertained enough to finish it. It just, you know, it's not one I will feel the need to pick up, but I think some people will like it. I think that people need to go under the right expectations. I thought it was going to be like a little bit of a weird lit fic situation, and it was more of a rom-com comedy hijinks situation. It almost reminded me of like Dude, Where's My Car? And I mean, it's not like that, but it's just like, you know, going from place to place and trying to sell these drugs instead of like going to place trying to figure out where the heck his car is. But it wasn't my favorite at all. So yeah, I'm going to sit here and read more of the Luke Dumas book. I will update you when I have something else to say. The kids are actually at school today, which I feel like this whole past month has been snow days and delays, and then they've just like scheduled days off and scheduled half days and everything else. So they actually have a full day and hopefully a full week of school this week. So hopefully I'll be able to get some things done around here. The house definitely needs some attention. So today I'll probably get some more audiobook time in. I don't have the arcs on audio, any more arcs on audio, I don't think, so I will just be updating this vlog when I've actually gotten some physical reading done. I don't even think I have a book. Oh, I started on audio, which won't be in this vlog, but I started The Burning Girls by, I forget who, on audio. But anyway, I'll probably be listening to that later, but I won't update you on that here. Wanted to show you that I'm outside on my hammock. It was 70 degrees yesterday and it was warm today. It's getting cooler now because the sun just went away behind the clouds, but most of the snow is melted, so I put up the hammock because I know this is short-lived. I think tomorrow it's going to be cloudy and somewhat rainy, but still pretty warm in the 50s, and then I know next week we're going to be back in the 30s again, so I'm just taking a moment to appreciate this weather. I actually was walking around in a tank top for most of the day today. I just put my sweater on now. It's a little windy, so hopefully you can hear me. I am now at 60% of Nothing Tastes as Good by Luke Dumas. I am liking this. We get a lot in the beginning of his disordered eating and the micro and major aggressions that he gets due to his body size, and you know, things about his work and his personal and social life and his family life that he struggles with due to his eating disorder, and also reasons he struggles, relationships with certain family members and things that are damaging, especially his stepfather. So we're getting a lot of that. Nothing really happens with the trial or the procedure in this book until 30% in, I would say, is when he gets the procedure done, and then finally is seeing changes, and not all of them are good. He starts to panic a little bit, and it's the whole discussion of, you know, what would you do to be able to lose this weight that you want to lose, and are these side effects worth it? So they're pretty extreme. It has a lot of discussions about, you know, things that we deal with. I know I dealt with it a lot growing up in the early 2000s in high school, and you know, seems like everybody could fit in a size 3 or 1 or 0, and I was definitely more like a, you know, 11 to 13, especially in the junior section. It was like, I felt like I couldn't fit into anything because of my body size, and I am not, you know, I was never that big. So like I usually would fit in a large and a short. It's like I was never that big, but even then it was a struggle sometimes to accept myself. So I definitely can identify with some of the struggles in here. If you have issues with eating, disordered eating, or any of those triggers, I would probably say don't read this. It's not worth it. But I'm enjoying it. There is, when he actually goes through the procedure, it's pretty gnarly. People are comparing it to The Substance, and I haven't seen that, but from the little clips I've seen of the body horror in there, I would say that yes, there is some surgical, medical body horror. I would say it's a pretty severe scene, and also like there's a lot of medical gaslighting in here too, so just be aware of that. I'm 60% in. I would say that some people are probably going to find it pretty slow in the beginning as we're setting up his thoughts and feelings about his life and his body and his family, but I appreciated that. It's epistolary, so there are, at the end of every chapter, letters from this law group, and then we're getting some interviews with Emmett's family from, you know, the lawyers are trying to get approval, so they're hoping that they can prove that Emmett would have done these things even if he was not on the medication. And then there's also little like social media posts that Emmett put up, and also he had to complete this diary of what he was experiencing, and he also did that. So there's like little entries of that in here as well. So yeah, I am liking this. I'm gonna finish this up outside, maybe, probably not, because it's windy and it's gonna get getting cold. Here's my big girl squish and girl squish. Hello. Hello. I just finished Nothing Tastes as Good by Luke Dumas. I'm going to give this 4 stars. I really ended up liking this. There are some bits of like social media stuff in here that I would say brought it down for me a little bit, but at the same time, I think it was an important aspect of this, so I can't fault it too much for that. Overall, it didn't give me a 5-star feeling. There were some moments at the end there where it kind of did, so it definitely put it solidly in the 4-star category for me. I would say the beginning is kind of slow and I wasn't sure, but then it definitely picked up in the last half. So I'm very happy to have read this. Even though Emmett is a flawed character and doesn't always make the best decisions, of course, I really liked him and felt for him and had a lot of compassion in my heart for him. So I'm glad to have read this. And Luke Dumas is a queer man who has been overweight his entire life, so he speaks about that in the afterword or in the acknowledgments. I'm not sure which one it was, but he talks about that and how he thought that stories like Thinner and some other books, left him wanting to write a story that meant a little bit more to him, but still had some of those hoary aspects to it. And I thought it was pretty well done, in my opinion. And there's a scene at the end there on a roof, and yeah, it took me out a little bit. And then he says this one thing, I can't even say it because it'll be a spoiler, but I was like, oh my god, Luke Dumas, really? And it really goes through that in this one. And I like how Luke Dumas really examines, the complexities of obesity. It's not, people are not just lazy and, you know, don't want to do the work. It's a complex, multifaceted problem in our society. You know, is not an easy fix for people. And even with the rise of drugs like, you know, the GLP-1 drugs, it's, you know, a drug that you would have to take just like the emaciate drug in here, the injections, just like that. You know, you would have to take your entire life, even with all the side effects and the cost of it, to keep that weight off. And you know, that in and of itself is a problem. And of course, if you don't have a lot of money, you can't keep on taking it. Yes, I really liked this. I'm going to give it 4 stars. Okay, I'm going to end that vlog there. I think I read 4 or 5 NetGalleys in this arc. I think I read 4 or 5 NetGalleys in this vlog, so I think that's plenty for the vlog. I'm going to end it there. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know some of the books you're looking forward to reading in March and April, and I will see you next time. Bye. Double hug, double hug.
Yeah.
Are you crazy?